Well, it's been an interesting week. This is attempt two to record this. Um, but as we were
It
discussing
has been an interesting
before,
week.
before my laptop decided to crash on me, inshallah, for the last time, uh, we were talking about, we should be laughing because we were talking about actually very depressing
Yeah,
news.
very serious
Um,
things.
but on some level, news that I think could have a real impact on Israel's ability to continue executing this genocide, and I say that with hope more than expectation. But the UN today have come out with a report assessing that Israel has committed a genocide. And before I kind of give my what happens is the UN report says that 4 out of the 5 of genocide have been met by the Israeli government. And like you said, we don't need reports to confirm the truth in front of our eyes. But why these reports matter and why we believe they make a difference is because they should make a material difference to the response of Western nations who continue, despite their lies, continue to claim that we, respect international order that was built in the aftermath of World War II. So, Hamza, my question to you really is: do you think that this will change the response of governments, but particularly the British government? Um, and will they
I
enact
don't
an armed?
think it will. I don't think it will change much materially. I think what will happen is that more and more people who do take the word of the UN and the weight of that institution, they will be taking, I think, more of a understanding to why they've been silent. I'm hoping it's a wake up call to many of the people who have been silent and who continue to remain silent about it. Because there's only so many institutions left in the world that can come out and say that this is a plausible genocide, that genocide is happening. Um, and I think there's no more room for the Zionist state to hide. There's nowhere for it to hide. It's showing time and time again its moral depravity. It's showing that it has no red line, and that Britain and America and rest of the countries have let it continue to cross red lines that it should never have been allowed to cross in the first place. I think there's only so many horrors one can see, and for people to just be like, no. For me, yeah, it doesn't change much, and I'm hoping that the UK government, especially the foreign minister and what's it called, Keir Starmer, can actually take a good hard look at themselves and the decisions that they've made in the past week alone and say, maybe we got it wrong and we need to now change. But I'm not holding my breath for that because I would be dead before they change anything.
Yeah, and you know that there are many who kind of say that this Labour Party is beyond saving, um, and to some extent that is true. But that is true under the leadership of Keir Starmer, um, and I genuinely believe this to be true. Right, Keir Starmer and Morgan McSweeney, and it's a news story we haven't really talked about too much, but the appointment of Peter Mandelson, who kind of played maybe a vital role in Morgan McSweeney's plan to overthrow Corbyn. I say overthrow, coup him. We're not talking about thingy, but to undermine Corbyn, to get rid of him, and then implement a MP, a prime minister who's happy to serve the interests of big business. I think that's what ultimately it boils down to. And big business likes war because war makes profit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And big business will doesn't really care about who they're fighting, what they're fighting for. They just want they like war because war means money for them.
Yeah,
And
shareholders like more profit.
yeah, exactly. And we'll get onto that a bit later about the amount of money the British taxpayers pocket due to this greed, corporate greed. But what we have fundamentally seen is cowardice from Keir Starmer, cowardice from David Lammy, cowardice from David Cameron, cowardice from Rishi Sunak. I could go on and on and on. Right, there is absolutely no moral backbone left in this country, unfortunately. there are a small number of MPs who have moral courage, right? And that small number of MPs made themselves known in November 2023, um, when they voted for a ceasefire. But there was only a small number of them, and even from them, not all of them have a clear backbone. How do I know? Because some of them voted for a ceasefire and then have failed to back arms embargoes, have failed to, when the Labour Party have been in power and they have opportunity to enact real change, have failed to vote against the prescription of Palestine Action as a terrorist organization. This is where we have left ourselves, and but it's not too late. It's never too late, right, to stop a genocide. Um, and the best way for the Labour Party to achieve this is to get that act together, remove Keir Starmer before it's too late, choose a new leader. I think Andy Burnham is someone who may have the moral courage to take this challenge on forthright and ban arms sales to Israel, and show the moral fortitude and courage um, of the Green Party, for example, of Zach Polanski, of the independent MPs who have been elected into the House of Parliament and have been a consistent voice of reason when it comes to this genocide. That's what we need to see. That's what we need to see. And just to kind of link different events together, Ian Dunn, journalist, very liberal journalist, kind of liberal establishment journalist, someone I don't really like too much, to be honest, in terms of his politics. I obviously don't know him as an individual, but he has come out and said that the Labour Party have failed to articulate a vision of this country themselves and carry on being on the back foot. And because of that, they allow us to be complicit in a genocide. They allow Tommy Robinson, etc., to march through our streets unopposed and unchallenged by the government. They allow reform to announce crazy policies like mass deportation of legal migrants. And the only reason that they can kind of come out and say this is bad, not because it's morally bad, but they go, or the economics of it are too expensive, or this hasn't been thought through properly, and how would you implement it? Not, this is just morally repugnant, because they don't believe in anything. Keir Starmer fundamentally does not believe in anything apart from Keir Starmer having power. Morgan McSweeney does not believe in anything apart from him having power, and they have power to serve the interests of big business. And the Labour and the Conservative government may pretend to disagree. They may pretend to disagree with each other. They may pretend to disagree with the reform. But all three of those parties take the same function. They are there to serve the interests of big business. Look where the money is, look where their donors are, and look at their economic priorities, and they're always there to serve the interests of big business. It may be in different forms, in different ways, and maybe some millionaires, some billionaire class. Some might want to serve housing more, some might want to serve tech more. The fundamental reality is they're all there to serve the interest of capital, not the interest of human beings. And that's why we need a new kind of politics. Again, another rant, but yeah, Hamda, what do you think? Do you think that under new leadership, Labour can take a new direction?
It can, but it needs to have someone who has clear vision, who's able to clearly communicate what the direction of the party and what the direction of the government will be. I don't think we've seen any of that. And I think that's why there's a void in ideology that reform are really taking hold of. They are acting as that voice for people who have been left behind, who have seen the country be degraded for 14 years under the Conservative Party. And now we assumed Labour would be that change we all wanted to see. Yet it's not been that. Yes, of course, it's only been a year and something in government, but that's a year and something without a vision, and a year too long without a vision. The British people deserve a leader who can show a moral backbone, like you said, and we don't have that right now. And until we see that from Keir Starmer, like you said, I think he needs to be replaced with someone who has the courage to stand up and take control of Britain and the people and say, this is what the people deserve. They deserve a country where they have a good NHS system, where they have good funded infrastructure, and the economy is doing well and people are being paid. There's many things that's been wrong and that's been dismantled in Britain that just need a good leader and a good government to just put it back into place. But
Yeah.
Not seeing it.
And there is, a general sense of hopelessness from many in this country, and that includes many who went on this march that followed the last Saturday
Over the
um
weekend, yeah.
over the weekend. Yeah, and as we've seen, right, it's very easy for me and very easy for others like us to kind of knee jerk reaction and go, oh, fascists and racists and all sorts of other words we want to use. And you know, I think fundamentally we've tried this kind of approach before. I mean, the 2010s were full of this kind of approach towards politics, and uh, think we can both agree, and I think most people can agree on reflection that that strategy was utter disaster, right? And it wasn't a disaster because Nigel Farage being a racist. Well, I truly believe he is. Is Tommy Robinson an Islamophobe? Yeah, absolutely, I believe he is. But the people who support Nigel Farage, who support Tommy Robinson to less extent, they're not all terrible human beings who are beyond the pale, who are beyond help. These are a lot of the time they're ordinary people who are suffering from poor economic conditions, who have very little opportunity in their lives. And I want to bring like it's had a and he's talking about his friends, right? And we like to try and see politics in very black and white ways for some reason, right? Where like there's a good side and there's the evil side, and anyone who went to this march or anyone who has to reform is evil and bad. But number one, who are we to say that? But number two, we have to accept that their lives have gotten worse since 2008. Their lives have got miles worse. And how can we fix that? We can fix that by giving them real answers, not this kind of false promises. So, like, government after government after government have come and said, what we're going to do, how we're going to solve this problem of declining living standards is we're going to cut immigration. And what has government after government after government after government facilitated? An increase in immigration. Why have they done that? Because of the economic realities of our country, whether it be about aging population, lack of skilled workforce, etc., etc. We can fix these problems if our government is honest with us, if they give us real answers, real solutions, um, if they challenge the fact. Can you pause the recording quickly? So yeah, as I was saying, again, apologies, went to answer the door. But there are not clear answers. There's not a clear strategy. There's not a clear solution to the challenges we are facing as a nation, as a people, and for individuals really. And we can continue to demonize people, or we can reach out to them and say, listen, you are right, there are your problems you are facing are real, the challenges you're experiencing are real, and we want to work with you to solve those challenges, right? We want to make sure that you can provide for your kids. We want to make sure that you are able to go to school and get a job locally where you live, right? Instead of having to move to London or Birmingham or Manchester or to one of these major cities. We want to make it that even if you do not, go to university, but you get a trade, so that trade will lead you to a proper job and there's a proper pathway. This country has provided so little opportunities that there are doctors who are struggling to get into specialization at a time where we have a crisis in our NHS, right? It's not a problem that's incredibly hard to solve with our doctors, right? More training spaces, um, better resources, and proper progression pathways are needed. That's essentially what is could fix a lot of the problems in our NHS currently. Currently, we live in a country where the number of people who are allowed to go to study medicine at university is capped by the government. Increase that cap, even lift that cap. For example, you'd have a surge of new doctors in our countries. I'm not saying take less qualified people in, I'm saying take as many qualified people in as possible. And these are I know they might be overly simplistic, right? I'm not saying that is the solution, but there are ways for us to challenge um, these inequalities in our country, right? Britain's in the midst of a massive housing crisis. Why doesn't the government invest large amounts of money into training plumbers and engineers and bricklayers and all these to increase the amount of housing supply in this country? Well, the real reason is obviously they're captured by big business, and that big business obviously doesn't want to see a dramatic increase in the number of houses because that will increase the value of asset prices. Or maybe they just don't want to upset older age people who've had their entire net worth tied to the value of their property or properties that they may own. But these are problems that can be solved. They're not impossible, but if they continue to refuse to trying to solve them, then we're going to continue to see a shift right. And really, there's only one way to solve this problem, and it's been shown in Spain, it's been shown in numerous countries, and most recently shown in France, right? And that solution is a kind of left-wing alliance of individuals who say there was an alternative solution, and we're going to band together to solve it.
Mm. And we need to see more of that together. Do you think we'll be able to see that more of the left coming together, regardless of, I guess you can say, political leaning, to sort the issue out?
Look, I have hope. I have hope. I always have hope. Is that hope based in reality? I'll be honest, we're yet to see. It's really been really disappointing. We've seen a lot of infighting from your party publicly. Uh, I still believe it can be a force for good, and I believe it will be a force for good. But again, these disagreements need to happen in private, or in a democratic environment, or environment in localized environments, really, because MPs serve their local constituents.
Mm.
So obviously that needs to happen. And I think fundamentally the Greens and your party need to work together at a really close level. And the World Transform is obviously coming up soon. Muslim Vote will be there. The Green Party will be there. We Demand Better. Zara, Jeremy, etc. They'll all be there, and we have to say that there is a world out there that is better for us all. Um, and we can help create it, right? And it won't just be in the UK, it will be in America, it will be in places like maybe Sudan. Sudan for been at war for 20 years. Maybe they'll see better days soon, inshallah. Um,
Inshallah.
and again, these are not simple problems to fix. I'm not saying that we can solve the war in Sudan like that tomorrow overnight, but there are simple things that we could do. We can campaign for an arms ban on the UAE, which would cut off some supply lines to the RSF and allow the government and the army to take a level of control and some stability into Sudan. Um, is that a perfect solution? Is that one size fits all solution? Probably not, but it's a solution, and it's something that we can materially do from the UK. If we cut off arms sales to Israel tomorrow, will we all of a sudden see the end of the genocide? Probably not, right? But we will see a real change, and Israel scrambling to change its economic policy and in its reliance, and ultimately will continue the isolation of Israel on the international stage until they are forced to back down. And this is what really frustrates me about the people in power in our country. They like to pretend that they have no power. Every time we say let's do something different, they say, "Oh, we can't do that." When a wealth tax, can't do that. Why? Because the wealthy run away. So you're held hostage by millionaires and billionaires. Is that what you're telling me, right? We want to ban arms sales to Israel. Oh no, we can't do that. Why? Because America hasn't done that, and that will make no material difference. So you're telling me, okay, there's a mass murderer on the loose, and you gave him one bullet, and someone else gave him 10. So you want to continue to give him the one bullet? Are you crazy? Are we held hostage by America? Is that our moral guiding line? America, whatever America does is our solution. We want to increase the supply of housing. Oh yeah, we're going to make a target of 1 million houses in the next 5 years. I guarantee you there is no chance Labour will hit their targets of building the amount of housing that they promised. Why? Because they're not serious about it. These guys are not serious about challenging the problems that we face. There's a really good video by on YouTube by a guy named Jimmy the Giant, right? I think that's his YouTube handle, about the housing crisis. There are tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of planning applications which have been accepted, which are being sat on because a plot of land with a housing with building permission is more valuable than a plot of land without building permission. This is the crisis we find this country in. This is absolutely ridiculous, and these are solvable problems, right? We can solve our NHS, we can solve our housing crisis, we can solve the crisis. These are challenges that if we had serious governments who are willing to make hard decisions and stop pretending that we are held hostage by a small group of millionaires and billionaires, we can really face on. And if they are telling me we're held hostage by millionaires and billionaires, then they have to come out and really say this really clearly, that we as a nation are held hostage by a tiny group of ultra rich who we've let to become the ultra rich because we did not believe inequality was a serious problem. And they have to come out and say this clearly, and then they have to come out and tell me, and this is our solution. Right now, a real clear solution to the inequality in our nation. Because if we carry on allowing this to happen, we're going to come to a stage where there is no going back, where the wealthy will have so much control of our resources and our economy and on housing that if we challenge them, they can pull the rug and collapse the whole economy. And we're coming closer and closer and closer to that situation. And that means that we need urgent action now, not yesterday, not next week, not tomorrow. Now, we need it now, and it should have been done 5 years ago, 10 years ago. But right now, we have another opportunity to do it. So let's take that opportunity and take that into our own hands and challenge that. Um, and yeah, and then we can bring people across with us. We can bring people from the far right. We can bring people who might have supported Tommy Robinson and say, look, together, your enemy is not refugees on a boat who are seeking a better life, right? They barely fill up Wembley Stadium. The challenges you face are not because of the poor immigrant who came here to on a healthcare visa. Your problems are not because of students who came here on student visas. Your problems are here because our politicians have allowed continuously the interests of the 1% to be served, and those interests supersede yours, and we work together and we'll fight back together to make this a country that works for everyone. And that's the message that we should be giving out to everyone.
I mean, rightfully so. I think you've hit the nail on the head there. I think the idea is, when do you think, or how do you think it will happen when the very people in power are from the elite, are part of the establishment, or are in the circles with the establishment, because it serves them at the end of the day to see a country that is crumbling. They win. So do you think we will ever see that change happen, that hopeful change you want to see happen? Because I'm with you. Honest to God, I am with you. But at the end of the day, the divide is clear.
I think the question is not will it happen. I don't even really think the question is why it will happen. I think my question to you is, will you be part of it happening? Right? We can all sit there and we can allow them to win. Right? This is really easy. We can allow them to win, or even worse, we can become part of their game and leverage ourselves and buy like 50 properties and mortgages and try and become part of that class and not contribute to society. Or we can get together as a country, as communities, as streets, and organize and say, look, we've had enough, right? Muslims, we've had enough of governments, successive governments supporting the blowing up of Muslim nations and the invasion of them. The white working class can turn around and say, we have had enough of being ignored, and our education being ignored, and our opportunity being ignored, and our economy being shoveled all into London. They could say that. There are people, black communities all across the country can say that we've had enough of us being totally ignored from the conversation for far too long. We've had enough of the brutality and that we face. We've had enough of the systemic racism. There can be immigrants of all kinds, and there can be all groups. We can create a beautiful coalition of people from all across the world, all across this country, and say, look, we've had enough of being screwed over. We've been had enough of pretending that the problem is someone else, that the problem is kind of another person who's struggling as much as me. The real challenge and the real problem is not fighting over crumbs, it's fighting over the bread. To be quite explicit, right? We need to fight over the whole bread, not over the crumbs that are left over for us. And if we do not do that, and if we're not laser focused on that, then we will allow them to win. But the question I really want people to ask themselves, and this is a bit of a morbid question, right? But the day when your grandchildren see you in your old age and you're there and they're saying to you, what did you do in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s? Do you want to say to them, look, I was part of the solution. I was there and I helped create a better Britain so that you could thrive, that you could go to university, that you could use your mind and your experience and your expertise to serve your community and serve your people? Or do you want to say to them, nah, I just sat there and I kind of let it happen to me? Um, and that's the fundamental questions we've got to ask ourselves. And I know it's really hard, and there are people who do not have the time to contribute. Uh, or the money to contribute, but everyone has a skill that they can contribute. And even if it's having arguments with your friends, not arguments, discussions with your friends, discussions with your family, picking up leaflets wherever you can, joining a local organizing group, and leafleting once every month or so, or once every 2 months, whatever small difference you can make that difference, right? Build community, go and volunteer at your local center, and these thousands of micro acts will make a real difference. Um, and trust me, they want you to believe there is no solution, because if you believe there's no solution, then they win. And if we believe there's a solution, then we will win, and we will all win together, and we will create an economy that works for all. And that does not mean saying people can't have wealth, and people can't be successful, but it means that people's success does not come at the expense of making everyone else poorer. And that's what we need to be very crystal clear on. We need to be crystal clear that we need an economy that works for every single individual up and down England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland.
100%. And I think to add on to what you said, because it's been something that I've been thinking about lately, is we've lost that sense of community. And you're talking about that shared identity, that coming together, that looking after one another, that really caring about each other's well-being. So I think the idea is we need to relearn how to be a community in Britain, how to be looking after one another, and to organize as a community, to organize as one, not to organize on class lines, on like ideological lines, but to really come together to build our nation back to its strength. Because at the end of the day, a country is only as strong as its people. And I think that's what we need to start seeing again. It's coming together, not the divisions that are fueled by Musk and the billionaires and sort of like the right wing individuals like you've mentioned. So I think we need to just come together, like you said, one by one, step by step. Hopefully, when we are all old, we can tell our grandkids we did something. It might have been not like in a magnitude way, but it was something. So yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what that is reversing behind you.
Yeah,
It's gone.
it's a lorry delivering. Let me mute so you don't hear it.
Um, but yeah, I think let me close on this idea, right? And it's this: we need to reclaim patriotism. And I think there are many people, many Muslims, many people on the left who kind of feel a bit icky about this word. But I want to say that I am a patriot, right? I love this country, and I love more importantly, I love the people of this nation, whatever background they come from, whoever lives here. I want to see them have a better life. Um, and true patriotism is looking at the people around you and saying, they deserve a good life, that they live here, they deserve good education, they deserve high quality healthcare, they deserve access to housing that's affordable and good quality, that we deserve a country that works for everyone. True patriotism is not standing in front of a flag uh, without any understanding of what we're standing behind. And don't get me wrong, if you want to stand next to your flag and sing the national anthem proud, I will, I would encourage you to do so. I'm happy for you to do so. But alongside that, go out and help your community. Go out there and join the local food bank and serve people who are struggling. Go out there and uh, you know uh, volunteer at your homeless shelter. Go out there and campaign for a fair economy for all. Go out there and campaign for a Britain that works for all, and go out there and identify how we can make a real difference in this nation. And that's the message I really want to leave you to. We're not passengers in this process. We are active members. And if we want to make a real difference, and if we want to change this country, then we need to really understand what patriotism is. And I am proudly a patriot, and I believe in building a country and an economy that works for all. And that's what I want my contribution to be to this country. And also, I want us to be a country that can stand proud and tell people, I'm from Britain, and we do not support genocide. I am from Britain, and we make sure that every hungry person in our country can go home and eat tonight. And that's what I want Britain to be known for. I don't want Britain to be known for being complicit in a genocide. I do not want Britain to be known as a nation where homeless people are and there are beggars in the street. I want Britain to be known as a nation of compassion, as a nation that strives to make a difference, and a nation that is better, that the world is better because Britain is there. And that's the Britain that I want to be, part of.
I have nothing else to add. That was a beautiful ending to this week's recording. And I think you said everything that could have been said.
All right. Well, you, I guess, next week, and final reminder, and we'll talk about this more and more as we come to local elections. But local elections are coming up. Get organized in your community, run drives on voter registration, identify candidates early, support whichever party you think will be best served. But as we get closer and closer to election, we will be supporting communities up and down the country as those elections come up, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.